The night the billionaire realized his life was empty was the same night every nanny walked out of his mansion for the fourth time in 1 month. Adrian Blackwood stood alone in the vast marble hall, the echoes of children screaming upstairs bouncing off walls that were designed to impress the world but failed to hold warmth. His quadruplets, 4 children born on the same stormy night, were famous in elite circles not for their innocence, but for the chaos they created. Caregivers quit within days. Some within hours. They called the children impossible, too much, emotionally broken. Adrian pretended not to hear those words, but deep inside, each one cut him deeper than the last. Tonight, as another nanny slammed the door behind her, he felt something crack. If money couldn't fix this, what could? Adrian Blackwood had built an empire from nothing. Abandoned as a child, he grew up believing emotions were weaknesses. He replaced love with ambition and built skyscrapers where memories should have been. When his wife died giving birth to the quadruplets, he buried his grief under board meetings and private jets. The children grew up with toys worth more than most houses, yet starved for affection. Leo, the eldest by minutes, carried anger like armor. Luna, sensitive and withdrawn, barely spoke above a whisper. Max destroyed anything he touched, as if testing whether people would leave like his mother did. And little Ivy cried at night until her voice broke, clutching an old scarf that still smelled faintly of her mother. Adrian watched them from a distance, convincing himself that providing everything except time was enough. The mansion became a battlefield. Broken vases. Locked doors. Endless tantrums. Each nanny arrived confident and left defeated. Adrian overheard staff whispering that the children were cursed. One suggested sending them to a special boarding school overseas. For the first time, Adrian felt fear not of failure in business, but of losing his children emotionally forever. That was when Mrs. Ellis, the elderly housekeeper who had been with the family since before his wife's death, quietly placed a file on his desk. "There is one more applicant," she said softly. "She's not like the others." Adrian barely looked up. He had heard that before. Still, something in Mrs. Ellis's eyes made him pause. The next morning, the new maid arrived without fanfare. No designer resume. No fancy degree. Her name was Clara. She wore simple clothes, her hair neatly tied back, and her eyes carried a calm that felt out of place in a house filled with noise. Adrian noticed something strange immediately. She didn't flinch when a vase shattered near her feet, thrown by Max in a fit of rage. She didn't scold. She didn't shout. She simply knelt, picked up the pieces, and said, "Looks like that vase was holding too much inside." Max froze, confused. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Adrian watched from the staircase, intrigued but skeptical. He had seen confidence before. It always faded. Instead of trying to control the children, Clara observed them. She learned their routines, their fears, their silent signals. When Leo refused to eat, she sat beside him and ate quietly until he joined. When Luna hid under the bed, Clara lay on the floor and told stories about clouds that were afraid of the sky. When Ivy cried at night, Clara didn't rush to silence her. She held her hand and whispered, "It's okay to miss someone." And when Max destroyed toys, Clara handed him clay and said, "Build the mess you feel." Adrian began noticing something unsettling: silence. Not the cold silence of neglect, but a gentle calm spreading through the halls. Days turned into weeks, and for the first time, no resignation letter arrived. Adrian installed cameras around the mansion, telling himself it was for security, but deep down he wanted to know Clara's secret. One evening, after a brutal day at work, he checked the live feed. What he saw made him stop breathing. Clara sat on the floor with the quadruplets, no phones, no screens. She had drawn a circle with chalk and labeled it safe. Inside that circle, the children took turns speaking. Leo admitted he felt invisible. Luna said she was scared people would leave if she spoke too much. Max confessed he broke things because broken things got attention. Ivy held the scarf and whispered that she was afraid to forget her mother's voice. Clara didn't interrupt. She didn't fix. She listened. Adrian's hands trembled as tears he didn't remember learning to cry streamed down his face. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. For years, he had avoided pain by staying busy. Now it flooded back all at once. He realized the children weren't difficult, they were grieving, just like him. The next morning, for the first time in their lives, Adrian cancelled his meetings. He joined breakfast. The children stared at him like he was a stranger. Clara smiled gently and stepped back, allowing space. It was awkward at first. Words felt heavy. But when Ivy reached for his hand, something shifted. Adrian squeezed back, realizing how small her fingers were, how much time he had lost. Challenges didn't disappear overnight. There were setbacks. Old habits returned. Leo tested boundaries. Max had relapses. Luna withdrew again after a nightmare. But now, they faced it together. Adrian attended therapy with them. He learned to apologize. He learned that strength wasn't control, it was presence. Clara never took credit. She quietly supported, guided, and reminded Adrian that healing wasn't a straight line. One evening, Adrian asked her why she stayed when others ran. Clara simply said, "Because children don't need perfect people. They need patient ones." Months later, the mansion felt different. Laughter echoed where shouting once lived. Walls held drawings instead of trophies. Adrian sold one of his companies, choosing fewer meetings and more bedtime stories. On Clara's last day, because she had always planned to leave once the family healed, the children cried. Adrian offered her a permanent position, any salary she wanted. Clara refused gently. "You don't need me anymore," she said. "You found each other." Before she left, she hugged each child and whispered something only they could hear. Years later, Adrian shared this story anonymously on his YouTube channel, titled Untold True Stories. He looked into the camera and admitted his mistakes, his fears, and the lesson that changed his life: love isn't bought, it's built, moment by moment. He asked viewers to like the video if it touched their heart, and subscribe if they believed stories could heal. The video went viral, not because he was a billionaire, but because he was finally human. And somewhere out there, for children grew up knowing that even broken beginnings can lead to beautiful endings when someone chooses to stay.